Take my word for it. I live there. Come to Florida. Get pre-approved right now with my guy Michael Kotze. Call him at 561-441-2730. He's got Choice Mortgage and a great real estate team. Get pre-approved right now. Michael Kotze, 561-441-2730. Buy in Florida right now. Don't wait. Save money on state taxes. Make your move today with Choice Mortgage. Trust me, Florida is waiting. This guy's so good, he did my commercials in Florida too. Mike Kotze, 561-441-2730. A ride.
Rated E for everyone. Includes in-game purchases. Includes random items. EA Sports FC 26 is here. Play your way this holiday season with an overhauled gameplay experience powered by community feedback. Enjoy festive upgrades in Ultimate Team with winter wildcards. Take on holiday-themed challenges and manage your career, like navigating the busy Christmas period. And team up with friends and clubs with new tournaments and live events. The club is yours. Give the gift of football with EA Sports FC 26.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome, everybody, on this final Sunday before Christmas. Hopefully got all your shopping done. I have this horrible habit of starting shopping around 2 o'clock on December 24th. Not a good strategy, but what can I say? Procrastination is my bag. It really shouldn't be, though, in a world of Amazon. Why am I waiting? All right, after this show, I'm going to get some shopping done online. The problem is my wife and I share the Amazon account, so I'm just going to see what I'm getting her. Maybe I do have to go to a store, even though, that's like an eighth circle of hell for me. I do not like malls. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent, this week was a sad week. I mean, I was on the air last weekend when that Brown shooting happened, the attack over in Bondi Beach in Australia by two radical Muslims, father and son. Great job, Dad, raising your son to just take out a 10-year-old kid and many others during a Hanukkah celebration. And then obviously the death of Rob Reiner. I know Rob Reiner has said like some pretty horrible things about Donald Trump over the years on social media. It became completely unhinged. But I mean, to be stabbed to death by your own son in your sleep, along with your wife, no one deserves to go like that. So I'm just going to leave that there. And may he rest in peace. So what we have here, guys, is, I mean, it's just really unbelievable. Our congresswoman from the 14th District, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, again, who has never sponsored or co-sponsored one bill that even got to the floor. She's now been in Congress for 8 years and hasn't accomplished a thing. Yet, there's this one poll that came out, oversampled Democrats like out the wazoo, like most polls that we see, showing that in a head-to-head matchup against J.D. Vance, it would be AOC 51 and J.D. 49, which still probably means he wins the Electoral College, but I don't believe even she would win the popular vote. I don't know how. Put it this way. If you are against fracking and you are against fossil fuels and you want to ban all offshore drilling, you think you're winning Pennsylvania with that stance? Because that's what she's going to run on. Do you think you're going to win Michigan if you have been pushing for electric vehicle mandates to save the climate? No. And that costs a lot of jobs in the auto industry because an electric car is a lot harder to make. A lot easier to make than a gas car. Therefore, you don't need as many auto workers. That means layoffs if you end up going ahead with these crazy mandates. So you're not winning Michigan. In Wisconsin, if you are anti-cow flatulence, as she has gone on the record saying, again, to save the planet, those farmers there aren't going to be very happy about that. If you're in Arizona and you kind of like having a closed border finally after 4 years of it being open, well, she's for open borders, right? She's for to let everybody in, give everybody free health care that's here illegally, fight back against ICE, give warnings to those here illegally, even violent criminals, if ICE is coming. They should absolutely be told ahead of time. That's what she advocates. You think if you're in Arizona, you're going to support an open borders candidate? Nope. You think she's really going to win Georgia or North Carolina? Nope. Not even close. So, again, this will be an absolute wipeout if somehow she gets the nomination. But here she is bragging about this poll from a pollster until I saw the poll, never heard of in my life. This is cut number 10. Go.
Do you think that you could beat J.D. Vance in the head-to-head race for president, as polling suggests, in 2028?
Listen, these polls, like 3 years out, are, they are what they are. But let the record show, I would stomp him.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Oh, the maturity just oozes off the screen, doesn't it? I mean, come on. I pray that AOC is the nominee. And if it's not AOC, please, God, give us Kamala Harris. Because, this book tour she's been on should have been over a while ago, and she is making the rounds everywhere. Of course, the safest possible places, and probably the safest place you could go is Jimmy Kimmel. And she was on there earlier this week, and Kimmel asked her, probably the wrong question to ask somebody who appears to have been overserved one too many times while in public. Ask Kamala, hey, after you lost, did you start drinking? Here's her response. This is cut 11. Go.
After the election, did you and Doug just start drinking?
We did.
Can't even answer that question coherently. Remarkable. But no, it's not like they started drinking after the election. I'm pretty sure that was going on during the campaign. If you saw some of the clips of her where she's absolutely slurring, stuttering. I know she can't speak well when sober in the first place, but clearly you could tell from a mile away that Kamala may have a problem. Anyway, Jimmy Kimmel, speaking of him, we look back. I watched a little bit anyway. Then I realized for a 10-year-old, probably not a good thing if you want to avoid nightmares. But one of the great war movies of all time is Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, right? That was a tremendous cast. What do you have? Tom Hanks. You have Matt Damon. I could go down the list in terms of Ed Burns, who was one of my favorites, who I've met in person, is exactly the same person in person that he is in most of the characters that he plays. It's really quite remarkable. Tom Sizemore in that movie as well, and just the first 13 minutes are just brutal. Jimmy Kimmel seems to think like he is one of those guys that stormed Normandy. Like he had such a tough year. I mean, the toughest year, because he said that the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, assassinated him in cold blood, was actually a MAGA supporter. Went on the air and presented that as fact, and then several affiliates decided to pull his show off their airwaves because there was such blowback over that. I mean, this was just right after Charlie. It was even before the funeral, and he's making this ridiculous allegation, which turned out to be a total lie. So he got taken off the air, and that made him cry. And then he blamed Donald Trump for taking him off the air, even though he's just like Colbert, where in this case, he is a distant third to Fox's Greg Gutfeld. And oh, by the way, loses $40 million a year for ABC and Disney because of the cost of his show that nobody is watching, basically, outside of friends, relatives, and illegals. Anyway, here's Jimmy reflecting back on what was, for him, a very tough 2025, making all those millions of dollars, not making people laugh. And he was reduced to tears. He really was. Cut 15. Go.
This has been a strange year. It's been a hard year. We've had some lows. We've had some highs for me, maybe more than any year of my life. But on behalf of all of us, I'm crying already. I'm sorry. On behalf of all of us at the show, I just want to say that we appreciate your support, your enthusiasm, and not just for watching. This year, you literally pulled us out of a hole, and we cannot thank you enough.
Oh, my gosh. Is there any more self-important, narcissistic pussycat, if you want to make that, a full word, just for the FCC folks. But in the end, I mean, who cries about themselves on the air? He's done this a lot. After Trump won last year, he cried. He cried in 2016. Just cries a lot. He's like John Boehner, but like of late night, right? That guy used to cry a lot as well. So Kimmel, yeah, he survived. It such a tough 2025. I was off the air for a week. Oh, my hair hurts. Anyway, I'm seeing that Donald Trump, the president, is giving out checks to all military members, a bonus of $1,776, 1776. Of course, no such bonuses were handed out during the Biden administration, which actually fired thousands of military members because they wouldn't get the COVID shot. So that's how the military was treated by Joe Biden when he wasn't checking his watch at funerals like the one that was held for 13 U.S. service members who were blown up in Afghanistan. Anyway, News Nation doesn't like this very much, and one of their analysts actually has a problem with Trump giving a bonus to military members and just just like your typical elitist dismisses it as, that's not a lot of money compared to like what I spend on dinner every night. This is Cut 14. Go.
And he can promote 1776 cost all he want and giving out a check. That worked for him the first time. 1776, that's less than a rent check in D.C. I don't even know what the impact of that is going to be.
So don't give him anything? That would have less of an impact. It's not even enough for a monthly rent check in D.C. Okay, well, maybe not everybody lives in Washington, D.C., one of the most expensive cities to live in the country. Maybe that 1776, that amount of money can go towards food or getting some nice presents for their kids. And that's the critique, that it's not a big deal to give that out to people. It's a very big deal, $1,776. Not to somebody like that who makes all that money. We'll have a luxury car service taking to and from the studio to say ridiculous things on the air and actually get paid for it. It really is unbelievable. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, have you heard the news? Gold just went up 67.5% this year. Not a bad return on investment, unless you had silver, which was up an incredible 129.5%, outperforming nearly every major asset in 2025. And owning physical gold and silver is simple and clear. It's tangible. It's relatable. There's no counterparty risk. And here's something many people don't realize. Physical gold and silver can even be added to your IRA. Who knew? That's why Goldline is the only company I trust to buy gold and silver from. They've been in business since 1960. They're owned by a Fortune 500 publicly traded company for added transparency, and they offer competitive pricing on a wide selection of products with free insured delivery on every order. Right now, Goldline has an exclusive promotion just for my listeners. Call 1-800-757-GOLD and mention Joe. That's 1-800-757-GOLD or 1-800-757-4653. If you reach them after hours, leave a voicemail and they'll call you back as soon as they're open. All right, kids, let's get back to the show, shall we? And look, I just can't get over the fact that we have somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Remember her? She ran the DNC into the ground in 2016, and then WikiLeaks started doing this drip of emails, and it revealed that Wasserman Schultz, despite being the head of the DNC, which isn't supposed to favor a candidate, was absolutely trying to take out Bernie Sanders, who was giving Hillary Clinton a really hard time in that primary, and boosting Hillary, which is not the job of the DNC. So during the Democratic National Convention, she was booed so badly that she eventually was forced to resign. And you kind of haven't heard from her since, unless you Google really bad hair in Congress. Then she probably pops up. But I thought she retired. Like, she used to be very prominent on cable news and then kind of went away. Well, maybe there's a reason for that, because when she opens her mouth, she says profoundly stupid things, including here where she's asked a very simple question. And this was by my old colleague, Leland Biddard, over at News Nation. And he asked her, hey, Islamophobia versus jihad, which is the biggest issue? And this is what she pivoted to. Cut 12, go.
What is the bigger threat to America right now, American values, American life? Islamophobia or jihad?
I think we have to focus, quite frankly, on, if we're worried about the threat to American values, on the person who's in the White House.
Oh, come on.
I mean, we have a president.
Oh, come on. Really?
No,
That's where we're going? Come on.
Yeah, I'm going there because we have a president who has completely undermined our democracy, who has.
So you don't see jihad. You don't see this is a problem.
What I don't see is it as a single lens problem.
Have I mentioned that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, Jewish? So you think that she'd be kind of upset that all these attacks have been occurring on Jews ever since October 7th, especially they've skyrocketed, or what happened over in Bondi Beach that we mentioned, as far as all those people being taken out by two jihadists. So again, Islamophobia versus jihad. I'm going to go jihad probably is the bigger concern here. Islamophobia that's what Zohran Mamdani talked about after 9/11, that a teacher pulled him aside and said, you're going to be a target now. You're going to be attacked. And that was his takeaway from 9/11, that he was a victim somehow. Quite remarkable. But yeah, that's Debbie Wasserman Schultz for you. Go figure. And again, if you forgot what this person looks like, I am not somebody I'm not the best, most handsome guy in the world. Okay. But just Google Debbie Wasserman Schultz hair sometime. And that's what you should not do if you have that kind of lid. Anyway, Letitia James, another real hero here as far as, I'm sorry, the way that she acts. And whenever she does a speech is so pious. It's the only word that comes to mind. And now the Attorney General of New York says that a ban on transgender youth surgery. All right. Let's say you're 12 years old and you decide, I'm a girl, but I think I'm a boy. I don't think a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old or even a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old should be making a decision like that is devastating and permanent and has led to many, many suicides after they realize exactly what they have done to their bodies as far as mutilating their own private parts. But anyway, here is Letitia James talking about how this ban on transgender youth surgery, well, it's just so frightening. Cut 13, go.
Hello, everyone. It's Tish James. I want to speak directly to the transgender community, especially to our young people and their families who count on gender-affirming care. I know this latest proposal from this administration to cut access to gender-affirming care for many youth is frightening.
Frightening. What's frightening is that you support this sort of thing. You're going to let your daughter do that? Tish? I doubt it. I don't know anybody, any normal, sane parent she also, by the way, advocates parents not being notified about the surgery. What the hell is that about? So again, this is the Attorney General of New York. She'll probably run for governor one day, for all we know. And the fact that the Trump DOJ, it seemed like a pretty open and shut case as far as her taking out a mortgage application for a home in Virginia, said it was her primary residence, and said that she was married to her dad. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I watched enough LA Law. Watched A Few Good Men again a couple of nights ago. I'm pretty sure that should have been a pretty easy case to try, but these judges corrupt threw it out, and now she looks like a martyr now at this point. Anyway, I cannot get over the fact that we have Katie Couric. I'll mention this later with David Bozell, who's coming up on the show. He's the president of the Media Research Center. But this person has now positioned herself as kind of a Dan Rather. Remember Dan Rather, of course. He was the guy who succeeded Walter Cronkite over at CBS News, the evening news over there in 1982. And up until 2005, he was their lead anchor. And then in 2004, just right before he was fired, he puts out this report on 60 Minutes about George W. Bush's National Guard service and basically used fake documents in order to prove that Bush tried to skip out on his service there. The problem is that he used, or at least was using, documents from a computer font that did not exist when George W. Bush was in the National Guard. Therefore, the story was thrown out. And then even after the fact, Rather said, you know what, those documents, they were fake, but they were real. Fake but real. Oh, okay. Makes sense. So anyway, he gets fired, and then he ends up going on CNN with Brian Stelter on Reliable Sources, lecturing us about what ethical media is about. Now Katie Couric is doing the same thing, and here's her actually endorsing Jennifer Welsh and that girl that looks like Garth on that horrible podcast, saying that they actually are doing a great job. This is Cut 4, go.
So proud of what you've built here and what you're doing and using your voices and talking about important things and raising a little hell.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter Ellie said, if you watch these two ladies, they go off. And I said, I've seen them and I approve this message.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
You approve this message. Give me a break. Those two women on that podcast, Katie, on that I've Had It podcast, literally said that Democrats should embrace celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. End of story. And you go on there and you say they're doing a great job. Raise a little hell. Oh, just go away already, please. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with David Bozell in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's bring in the great David Bozell, of course. He is the big cheese over at the Media Research Center, and they do such phenomenal work, guys. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you read newsbusters.org out there, but the studies they do, they are tireless, but most importantly, weird to say this in today's media, but impossibly accurate. So I quote them all the time whenever I'm on Fox or on this radio show, and they make my job quite easy for me. So, David, how are you?
Good, man. How are you? Merry
great.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes, for only, within a week. That was a fast year. And a lot happening in media as well. The Media Research Center has given out their quote of the year, and not in a good way. This was Matthew Dowd. Before even Charlie Kirk got to the hospital, when we didn't know whether he was alive or dead or not, they throw this clown over on MSNBC, now called MS Now, whatever that insane asylum is called these days, and then he has to go off and say this. Well, again, we didn't even know if Charlie was alive or dead. Cut 7, go.
And following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
Unbelievable, David. I guess what he's saying, obviously, is Charlie had it coming. A father of two and a loving husband. He deserved to die because he had speech that some people disagree with.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joe, the prelude to that quote was Matthew Dowd suggesting that Charlie could have been shot by one of his supporters waving a gun in the air in celebration. Right. Mm-hmm. As if that's what we all do in conservative conspiracy meetings. We just get our guns and just fire them in the air, willy nilly. It's just an abhorrent comment. Look, if you've been in breaking news situations, I've been in breaking news situations. The job in a breaking news situation is to sit down, shut up, look straight, listen to your earpiece, to have the producer tell you what's going on, the who, what, when, and where. That's it, right? That's the gig in a breaking news situation. And Matthew Dowd found that moment to be the moment in which he claims that Charlie could have been shot by one of his supporters, and that he basically deserved it. A ridiculous comment. He was fired not so long after, but a couple hours later, he tried to apologize. We demanded that he apologize, and we demanded that he apologize on the air. He tried to one of these fake Twitter apologies, and MSNBC, to their credit, fired him on the spot, that night. So, that's why, because of the story, because of the gravity of the moment, because of the gravity of the story, because of the gravity of the error, that is why we named it the worst quote of the year in 2025.
And that's right when he said that. And that is the impression that I think many people in media who are these elitists that live in these ivory towers in New York or Washington, like a Matthew Dowd, they honestly look at Trump supporters that way as, a bunch of hicks going yeehaw and just firing some guns when Charlie Kirk's having a debate over something, which makes absolutely no sense. But then, it just happens to not fire it in the air, but, fire it straight where Charlie struck in the neck. I mean, they just look at everybody as rubes.
Well, Joe, and you see it, fast forward to the present day, you're seeing in the lack of coverage in the Brown situation. Mm-hmm. I know, there was a massacre in Australia around the same time frame, but this was a college kid in Brown University, and right next door to the epicenter of all media, right up there in Providence. And there's a real lack of coverage about the victim, about the case. There's a lack of curious coverage about the quality of the investigation going on. And it appears that this young girl may have been targeted because she was a member of the Republican club in Brown, and a lot of people were asking those questions, but not the liberal media, not the legacy media. Those guys are just all silent. So it's just distressing and sick to see the quality of the coverage when a conservative gets shot, and or the lack of coverage when a conservative gets shot.
Oh, you're so right about that. I know that I was hosting the big weekend show on Fox on Saturday when all this broke out, and we were in what's called tape at 8 p.m. In other words, Mark Levin, his show is pre-taped because sometimes it's harder to get guests at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night as opposed to if you could pre-tape it on a Friday afternoon. So all that said, we knew we couldn't go to a tape at that point where they're not talking about the shooting, so we were told, okay, we're staying here for as long as it takes, and then we went another hour with the already 3-hour show, and then we were able to get some more live people in after that. But yeah, I mean, we've been covering it. I know that, and I don't count Fox under legacy media because I think that we look at our story selection a lot differently. But yeah, I think two factors in play here. One, Democrats are running Providence, right, and Rhode Island and New England in general, so we can't make the mayor look bad or anybody else who's involved. And then who the shooter is, all I know is a lot of people, students, the witnesses that said, well, we couldn't understand what he yelled. I mean, that obviously means that it was something yelled in another language, probably something that starts with A and ends in bar. So, yeah, I think that the minute that, let's put it this way, if this was somebody in a red cap that went in there and took out the head of the Democratic, club of Brown University, this thing would be wall-to-wall, 25 hours a day coverage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Absolutely. And it extends, Joe, into the digital space. So one of the things that we've, since I took over, we created this new toy. We're calling it the Crawler, tentatively. Yeah. And then we're able to count the amount of coverage and the left-right distinction of the coverage on the big aggregators. And the big aggregators are Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, and Google. And so we looked at everything that Apple News presented on its app. And look, folks, that's 124 million people a month using Apple News, right? So these guys are big dogs on the block. They had 560 stories on that thing in the month of November. 559 of them were labeled left-wing by a company called All Sides. So not by us, right? By another neutral arbiter.
Yeah.
559 of the 560 articles that we found on Apple News were left-wing sources. And the one was a Daily Telegraph article about something going on in Great Britain. Not a single thing from Fox. Not a single one.
Wow.
Not a single link to Fox from Apple News, which I would consider to be center-right or center. Not a single one of those. So Google's the same way. I mean, Google had linked to the New York Times and even 100 times on its front page on the Google News in the month of November. So this is why the New York Times, in our world, everyone will tell me, Joe, well, I don't read the New York Times and I don't know anyone who does. Well, they have 440 million visitors a month. They're the number one news website in America.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating to say that. And the reason why they're able to survive is because the Googles and the Apples and the Yahoos are pummeling traffic to them day after day after day. And so that's going to be the next step in the MRC's evolution, is to help balance this out a little bit here. A lot of it, actually. And that's going to be an important part of our future.
And we're talking to David Bozell. He is the MRC president, took over for the great Brent Bozell, who eventually, I hope, will be named ambassador to South Africa. But Democrats, they're slow walking. This thing's moving. I've seen Jell-O move faster than this confirmation.
I know. He's they're in the queue. Should be tomorrow. Should be Friday.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, so it's, they just wait till the absolute last minute Christmas break, and he and about 111 other nominations are going to be voted on all at once. It's a silly process. There's too many nominations. It just goes to show you that the government's just too damn big. There's just too many people to fill. Somebody figured out, that yes, the Senate is going at a record pace. Congratulations, golf clap, in terms of confirming President Trump's nominees. If they continued that record pace, President Trump's administration would be fully staffed in 5 years.
Oh, geez. Which I believe a term only goes 4, and there will be no third term, probably. That's just a remarkable stat. I can't believe it. All right, we're going to play a little lightning round here since we're a little low on time. But I'm just going to play something, and you just jump in and give me your thoughts on it. This is cut 8, guys. Go.
The Minneapolis Star-Tribune, just as another piece of the puzzle as to who the shooter was, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune says, according to court records, because there's been some confusion about what the shooter's name was.
Yes.
Robin Westman's mother applied to change her child's name in 2019. It was, at one point, Robert Paul Westman.
Correct.
But since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin Westman.
David, I mean, this was a shooter at a church that killed several children, and Jake Tapper is making sure that we get the pronouns right. Unbelievable.
Jake and his liberal media brethren would love nothing more to allow the left to just sandpaper down any part of not just Americana, but any sense of individuality in this country. If it were up to them, we'd all be referred to as they, thems. And for all eternity, and we'd just be one big human blob, and how disrespectful and irreverent and disgusting toward those kids.
Yeah.
To just spend we're not talking about the kids, right? We're not talking about the victims and the families and how they might recover and the investigation. We're just jumping through hoops to try to make sure that we get the pronouns correctly. Silly.
All I know is that the irony is that Donald Trump won last year largely because of an ad where he said Kamala Harris says she's for they, them, and I'm for you. Right. So that was
right.
very effective.
Great.
All right. So we got one more. OK. And this is Katie Couric. All right. Who is paid for, millions of dollars by every major broadcast outlet, ABC, NBC, CBS, to be an evening news anchor. Here she is talking about how left-wing media seems to always get it right, and right-wing media, they're just a bunch of bad people. This is Cut 9, go.
I think they are trying to adhere to what happened, the facts, and what it means. And I don't know about you, but when you watch right-wing media, a lot of it is focused on what the left is saying and mocking them.
Yes, right.
Or trashing them.
It's owning
instead
the
instead of sort of saying their version of events, which is usually very laudatory towards the administration, right?
Now, the best part about that was, Brent, we only got about 45 seconds, is that Katie Couric said this to Jennifer Welch in that houseplant that doesn't say anything really next to her. She just stares the whole time. Jennifer Welch, who's like one of the ugliest, in every way, shape, or form, vile podcasters out there, that once said, just right after Charlie Kirk was shot, that the Democrats need to embrace celebrating his murder. And here's Katie Couric saying that, actually, you're the civil ones here. I'll give you the last word.
I love the irony. Katie Couric and Jennifer are admonishing the right-wing media for, quote, owning the libs. All that is basically an attempt to own right-wing media. So, what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
No one got more things wrong on more networks than Katie Couric. So there.
That's true, and that's why she's doing, podcasts from her kitchen at this point. That's what she's been reduced to. Anyway, he is the president of the MRC, the Media Research Center. David Bozell, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thanks so much for joining us.
Conchas.
Absolutely, yes. David knows the Conchas. He's met them several times. He's Uncle David now at this point. You're now the unofficial uncle, so that's that. All right, so that was David Bozell, a great guest as always, and this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
All right, we've reached almost the end of 2025, and I'm looking back at my investments, and I like what I see, especially when it comes to minerals. So, my guy who advises me on this stuff said I should buy gold, I should buy silver. It almost never fails. So I said, all right, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. So listen to this. Gold is up 67.5%, silver 129.5%. It outperformed nearly every major asset in 2025. Gold and silver, it can act as a real financial insurance, helping balance your portfolio. You can even add physical gold and silver to an IRA. Who knew? I trust Goldline for all my gold and silver purchases, and right now they are offering an exclusive promotion for my listeners only. Call 1-800-757-GOLD and mention Joe. That's 1-800-757-GOLD and mention Joe. All right, guys, let's wrap this puppy up, shall we? Every week I have my wonderful producer Elias cut me some sound bites, and we always fill the page. I mean, he must hate me at this point because all week I'm just peppering him with I'm like, I can't believe this person said this or that, or maybe I was impressed with something that somebody said. And that includes ESPN's highest paid analyst. He is Stephen A. Smith. The guy, you can love him, you can hate him. He's candid, he's got passion, and quite frankly, I think he tries to call a fair game. So here is Stephen talking about how Democrats, for whatever reason, don't want to go on his show, while Republicans are always like, let's do it. This is cut one. Go.
Jasmine Crockett has been on this air, or invited on this show for 4 months. AOC has been invited on this show for 4 months. Gavin Newsom has been invited on this show. Longer than that. Props to Hakeem Jeffries. He's a friend of the show. Always welcome on here. I like that man. I respect him.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Schumer's been invited on this show. Hasn't shown up.
Shocker.
Where they at?
Where they at?
Every single Republican I have asked to show up on this show has either said yes or that they're coming.
Well, there you go. So
not the Dems. Why?
Whoops. Dude, Stephen has these dramatic pauses sometimes where you don't quite know when the soundbite is over, but yeah, there you go. But the point is valid, right? Schumer won't show up. Crockett and Newsom, who will run to every microphone possible, except the ones where they're actually going to get challenged. That's very interesting that even Gavin Newsom, who, wants to be president, is afraid of Stephen A. Smith. All right. Your move, Gov. Anyway, Kamala Harris, I just cannot get over the fact that she's going to run again for president. I mean, she ran in 2019, didn't even get to 2020, didn't win one delegate. Tulsi Gabbard won more delegates in 2020 than Kamala Harris. So when she actually has to earn votes, doesn't go well. 2024 obviously installed Soviet style and lost every swing state in the popular vote. So, but for whatever reason, I think she thinks that she could actually win this thing despite being the worst candidate we have seen in our lifetimes, with all due respect to Michael Dukakis. Anyway, this is cut two. This is Kamala saying that, you know what? Forget Hillary. I was the most qualified candidate to ever run for president ever in this country. She said it. Seriously. Cut two. Go.
That is a decent resume, but go ahead.
Well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
Oh, what?
I like the some people say. Very nice, but go ahead.
I'm just speaking fact.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking fact. You were the most qualified person for what? Okay, let's see. Most liberal senator in the Senate in California, where you kind of don't really have to run against a Republican because the state is so blue. Whoever the Democrat is going to win. And she had the backing of Willie Brown, I guess, return favor, so to speak, in that regard. So she had that machine behind her. Then she was the worst vice president we have ever seen. She allowed the border to allow 12, 15, 20 million people into this country. And then, the hubris of the defeated is really overwhelming. I just cannot get over this woman. And if you're Republicans right now, you really, 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 really want her to be the Democratic nominee, no question. All right, so let's end it here with, you know what? I am so tired of this lizard who is James Carville. He won an election back in 1992, except he didn't win it. Bill Clinton runs. He is going up against George H.W. Bush. We're 12 years into Republican rule. The country is in a recession, and Ross Perot is pulling about 20% of votes away, more from Bush, you have to believe, than from Clinton. And Clinton ends up winning with 43% of the popular vote. That was it. All right. But Clinton was a good candidate, good speaker, charismatic, all those things, and I thought was a good president. Take away Monica, the record is quite good. But Carville still gets on cable news and every podcast as if he's some sort of great expert who knows about winning elections, despite the fact he is not relevant for 33 years. Well, here he is showing real class here, because we have such a violent culture in politics these days. And this is what he had to say about President Trump. This is cut 6. Go.
I'm not sure possesses the basic elements of humanity.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure he's not getting worse. It's not up to me because, frankly, I wouldn't down his damn throat if his heart was on fire.
Yeah, he wouldn't urinate down his throat if his heart was on fire. And this guy, just 10 seconds before that, was talking about how Trump doesn't have basic humanity, and then you go on and say that after the guy was nearly assassinated twice, and this is the rhetoric that you're putting out there just to draw attention to yourself? I mean, enough with this guy. All right? Why don't we go to Arsenio Hall while we're at it, if we're just put on like people who were relevant all that time ago to talk about entertainment? I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in today, everybody. A great job, as always, from Elias, our producer, and everybody on the team. And Merry Christmas, everybody. I will see you next week, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, bye-bye.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Idea Gen Global Podcast with George Sifakis.
I'm George Sifakis. In a world overflowing with noise, there is one forum where the world's smartest voices connect, where visionaries sit at the same table as innovators, and great minds don't just talk, they act.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.